Welcome everyone to our roundtable discussion on bridging the gap, why are women underrepresented in STEM? Despite global progress, a persistent challenge lingers, the underrepresentation of women in STEM. Though studies show women outpace men in graduation rates, they remain noticeably absent in fields like engineering, ICT, and physics. Even in India, with the world's highest number of female STEM graduates, only 27% enter the workforce. Today, we delve into this paradox with an esteemed panel. Ms. Neelima Kardiala, IT Program Manager, The Challengers. Thank you for joining us, ma'am. Ms. Sunita Chandrasekharan, Senior Manager, Software Engineering, Sabre Corporation. Welcome, ma'am. Ms. Kanika Goyal, Head of Test Automation Community, Equity Knowledge Partners. Welcome, ma'am. Ms. Anasuya Mohan Rao, Senior Leader, Philips Innovation Campus. Welcome, ma'am. Dr. Indrani Mukherjee, Lecturer, University of South Wales, Australia. Welcome, ma'am. Ms. Saswati Pradhan, Director, Engineering, Superhuman Race. Welcome, ma'am. Ms. Damayanti Bhattacharya, Chief Executive Officer, Meka Bhavan Foundation. Welcome, ma'am. Ms. Roopsha Majumdar, Director, Data and Analytics, MIQ. Welcome, ma'am. This discussion will dissect the complexities behind this gender gap encompassing education, careers, and societal perceptions. Together, we'll seek actionable solutions to unlock the immense potential of female talent in STEM, paving the way for a brighter, more inclusive future. Let's get started. We're eager to hear from our panelists and dive deep into this crucial conversation. I now invite our consulting editor, Ms. Shweta Singh, and editor, Ms. Ruchika Kumar, to take this discussion forward.
Thank you, Kuhu. Kuhu just mentioned that India has the highest number of female STEM graduates. I'd like to add that even in terms of percentage, we are now close to having nearly 50% women making up the STEM graduation pool. So this is the highest in the world. So something surely has been done right as far as education is concerned. However, we still face a challenge when it comes to women entering and actually remaining in the STEM workforce. Now, this is obviously not a challenge exclusive to India. In fact, the differences are as pronounced, if not more, in developed countries. But let's keep the focus on India for this discussion. So I'd like to begin with the positives, actually. So now that we have more girls than ever enrolling and graduating in STEM fields, I'd like to know what is your opinion on what could be the primary reason or reasons for this shift? And more importantly, how can we maintain the interests of girls in maths and science? We'd be happy to hear about any particular initiative that you or your organizations may have taken in this regard. So since we're beginning with education, I'd like Dr. Indrani to speak first, as she's an academician, and then we'll move on to other panelists. Dr. Indrani, could you please unmute yourself?
Yes, thank you for stating most of the facts that I was about to anyway. It is really very heartening to hear that we have, close to 50% of, graduates are women or female. But I think the problem is not so much at the undergraduate or even the high school level. All that is very encouraging, I agree, but we're getting women ready for a workplace that's very male-centric. So increasing the number of women isn't going to solve our problems straight away, because just increasing the critical mass isn't going to be enough, because those who are entering the workforce are finding it very challenging. I can speak from my own experiences that it's, I've never been discouraged by my family or my parents to be in STEM. If anything, I was encouraged to do so. So this is, going back at least 10, 20 years. And I don't think India or anywhere else, it's not so much the problem about encouraging or getting your girls or women to study or take up science. I think women especially are quite interested. As you mentioned yourself, girls are outperforming boys. for the last 5 years, the trend shows in the CBSE examinations or ICSE, girls are doing extremely well. It's the question of retaining them. And I think the problem is that the workforce is still very male-centric because there's this huge push. We need women, we need women. What we're doing is having lots of women, but the workplace is still catering to men. I think that's where the main problem is.
That's very well put, actually. But I'd like to take the views of other panelists as well. Nilima, could you go next? You can.
Yeah. So, second everything that Indrani says, and when it comes to workplace, we actually don't have this setup, or we haven't worked on removing the unconscious bias when it comes to certain roles, which have, that perception that they're only built for males, or only males can perform in those roles. So it's very important to, remove those unconscious biases and then educate, corporates, whether, encouraging the men to be champions of women, etc. But also in my own experience, what we've done is to actually look at all the job descriptions that go out and make sure that they are gender neutral when it's read. So that it's more encouraging for women when they look through the job descriptions to go, right, I can apply it too, and so those are the kind of things that you can do. And the other thing is, when we all face interviews, we all face panels, right? So it's very rare nowadays to have one-on-one interviews. We always have a panel. So it's very crucial to make sure that the panel is actually gender neutral. So making sure that there's one female, one male when there's an interview going on. I think, little things like that can make a huge difference to attract, because when women hear from another woman about that workplace and that culture in the workplace, and what that specific organization does to empower women, or what career pathways do they provide for women to progress in their careers, that becomes more encouraging. And then when it comes to retention, the whole world talks about this. It's the pay gap between men and women. That needs to be resolved too, and making sure that women are not paid less, and encouraging them to actually fight for that, pay gap is also very crucial.
Right. I'd now like to move to Anusuya. Ma'am, could you please unmute yourself? Yes. So could you talk about the initiatives that you are taking in this direction?
Yes. And first up,
Phillips
thank you
is
for this opportunity. And it's really great to be part of this panel. And what I would like to start off is with regard to some of the actions that need to be taken in the workforce, as well as I also want to bring in some specific initiatives as well. One of the most important things that I feel that is very important is that we need to really create inclusive workplaces. And this can definitely be implemented by bringing in diversity and inclusion policies and offering mentorship and sponsorship programs, and also providing flexible work arrangements. Specifically with regard to mentorship, I think there is a dire need to promote female role models. This is because we need more visible role models in STEM. Yes. And I, for one, have been fortunate to be part of mentoring programs in my career, and that has made a huge difference. And I'm also part of a program called Catapult and Phillips, where we are really looking at mentoring women employees so that they can really boost their confidence and take on bigger and larger roles across leadership positions, whether it is lateral roles or roles outside of their comfort zone. Now, having said that, I think it's also important to also bring in women into the workforce. So that's where we are also taking initiatives like campus tours, where we actually bring in a diverse set of students from the campuses to experience what is happening at our innovation campus in Bangalore. We also organize what is referred to as a Phillips Day, where we reach out to campuses so that they can also understand what is the kind of work that happens at the innovation campus, and how can their work or their knowledge be translated to address real world problems that are worked on in our company. Apart from that, we also look at internship programs, 10-month programs where students across various campuses can come into Philips and experience the work-life culture, yeah, and also contribute to solving real-world examples or business issues through hands-on work. So these are some of the examples that I would like to share at the start. Thank you.
Right. We'd now move to Sunita. I'm sorry, I'm going one by one, but we need to follow that approach because we have many panelists. Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. I think all
And-
suggestions, and you can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So in my opinion, I hear all people saying about how when women come into workforce, we have this problem. I agree. One things that I have felt is like as we are growing, I mean, few of us are already leaders in defined positions. One of the things that I try to do is men and women are different. I mean, there is no question about it, right? We know. I mean, it let it remain different. I mean, we bring different strength to the table. Let it be like that. With that, what comes is we have read it in Lean In and many other books. When men is like 30% ready, they go for the opportunity. When women is 130, also we still have the doubt. So that is something that I try to work with. I mean, if I work with my seniors to ensure that my problems are cleared, but I have been fortunate to have a team which is like 90% of women. I mean, I lead a team which is like, if I have 10 people, 9 of them are girls. So some people ask me like, what, you don't get men into the team? But my question is, you never ask a male manager when they have 9 or 10 men, you don't ask that, are you not bringing enough girls? So let that be aside. But the point that I'm trying to say is, when we are having women and team members within us, we try to tell them, okay, these are the opportunities, just get out. I mean, push them out of the comfort zone, because when they know that their leaders have their back, I mean, they have so much of strength in them. When they have the confidence that the leaders have their back, male or female, because my boss is not a female, is a male, but he gives me a lot of confidence. Now I am capable of going and making some mistakes. I mean, I don't worry about it. So I do the same with my team members, which gives them the confidence. Now few of them are gone and they become the role models for others. I mean, when they get out, they become the leaders. So these are some ways we can do it in like daily work. But I do agree that bringing in more women is not just enough. Creating an environment is important. And I think people are realizing, either through legal requirement or to have the diversity and inclusion inside, having unconscious bias training, repetitively hearing about it. But more we talk, more awareness comes. And positively, we have to join hands with the guys. I mean, there are a lot of wonderful men who are there, I mean, neutrally helping. I mean, they are not just doing it because we are a female. They know that we have strength. So partnering with the right set of people, and some people are extroverts. So, I mean, I am an extrovert. I keep talking much. So wherever we get the opportunity, we just go talk for us and talk for the things positively. I think we can bring a lot of difference. That's my thoughts.
Wow.
Wonderful. Kanika, I'd like you to go next.
Thank you, Shweta. I very well resonate with all the speakers thus far, that how diversity and inclusion plays a role. Like Indrani ma'am said, that just for the sake of hiring, we should not be hiring. That environment has to be created, right? So at Equity, what we do is, when we are having such discussions about diversity and inclusion, right, we do not have it among the female groups or the female leaders. We actually get all the male leaders also in the room, so that environment gets created, not only by hiring female leaders or by engaging with female leaders, but even the male leaders should understand what mindset and what difficulties or challenges we have been through. so that they also become my ally rather than my opposite side. So that is one thing which I would want to talk about. And when you talk about programs, what initiatives we can take, I think there are a lot of initiatives which we as a firm have taken, and I'm very proud of those. When a woman has gone through a mat leave, like maternity break, or a woman has some issues with family where they went on a long career gap, right? So we invite those, those candidates or those females, we do campaigning for them, right? That's called a step up program for us. So we get them, we train them for 3 months or 4 months, and basis the performance, we then convert them. And that conversion rate is generally very high, right? Then when women are at a certain level, then we step them up internally. We have programs such as velocity programs, where we get the mentors and the allies together, working to upskill an individual female leader who is at around 5 to 6 years of work ex, and now she's ready for the next jump, right? So we do those mentorship program for them, right? So there are many such schemes which we already have internally at Equity. So yeah.
Right. I'd like Damayanti to go next. Yes. You're on mute. Sorry.
Damayanti, I want to add over here, like I had a question for you, that since you're the link between the industry and the academia, so what will be your recommendations, to bring about this change?
I was actually going to focus on the education part, right?
Yes,
so
we
just
actually
for the
started with that.
panelists, I head a foundation that creates maker spaces in educational institutions in across India. And so I deal largely with faculty, students, higher education institutions. And an interesting thing, like a couple of facts, we have 20 plus IITs, 24. None of the directors of any of the IITs are women, right? Actually, very few of the deans are women, right? You look at the CSIR labs, right? Only 5 of the CSIR's labs have women directors. The director general has always been a man, right? Why is that? They have a very high percentage of senior scientists who are women, but they don't make it into leadership positions. Is it because they don't have the ability? I don't think so, right? A key factor, I think, is that women are not still considered for these leadership roles, or they're not provided the right guidance and mentoring for them to grow into these roles, right? Our academic environments are, till this date, is very patriarchal, right? I'm just going to call it as it is. I worked in IIT Bombay for many years. Most people dislike me intensely, right? Because I'm verbal. I'm like, I'm going into public saying this, that I'm like really vocal. And I've heard it enough number of times that I talk too much, right? Their view is that if you don't have a PhD, you shouldn't talk, right? The other thing, going to the other end of the scale, sometimes for women, because most young girls who come into a college, they're really hungry, right? If you just give them a enabling ecosystem, right? They don't need anything else, right? They will go and get what they want on their own, like motivation and power. But a lot of times that ecosystem is not there, right? When we create our labs, one of the things that I insist on is that there is zero barrier to entry, right? Because these are, the maker spaces are 3D printers, mechanical tools, power tools, right? They're not typically seen as things that women will do, right? They're supposed to be for boys, right? Half of our labs are managed by women managers, right? We have a program where we say that, they wear t-shirts proudly which say women who print. And there's a 3 next to the print, right? 3D print, right? So Last year, we enough run another program called Invention Factory, where students build patentable prototypes, right? Last year, from the students that we take about 60 students across colleges across the country. Last year, the enrollment rate for women, I think there were 40% were women. Ask me what the prizes, the winners were. Half of them were women, right? So there's no lack of ability, right? The fact is that they're very capable, right? They just need an enabling environment for them to thrive. And for that, I could not agree enough that good mentoring is the key. I would like to end with one last thing, right? We do not have enough role models, right? We hate to talk about ourselves and put ourselves in the limelight, right? All of us here, we have a responsibility to make ourselves the role models for the younger generation that we want them to be, right? I tell my students who run our labs that you are the role model for the kids who will see you and want you to come into the lab, right? You don't have to be a CEO or a very successful person to be a role model for somebody else, right? All of us can be a role model for a young kid, right? Who would look at us and say, oh, she's cool. I want to be like her, right? That's enough. I'm going to stop here. I can go on and on.
That was wonderful. I think it was very on point. Ruksha, I'd like you to go next.
Thanks a lot, Shweta. I think I resonate with all the points being made over here. And the fact that it's so important to create an environment, as we are wanting to have more women workforce in STEM, it is absolutely important to also be able to create an environment that is conducive for women to grow. A couple of things that we do at MIQ, and something that which I'm extremely proud of, very similar to what Kanika also mentioned, like we conduct hiring drives specifically for women returning to work. And while we do that, we also ensure that people interviewing them, the interview panelists, are absolutely neutral, do not have any sort of unconscious bias when they are talking to such folks. And once onboarded, we ensure that these women are given the right amount of opportunities. It is not that because they are coming after a break, or because they are coming from a certain background, they are deprived of certain opportunities. I think that is one aspect that we often miss in organizations. While we do push for women having a place in leadership positions, we do want women to speak up in certain platforms. We often fail to understand that there are some inherent differences in the way men and women speak out, or in the way that we seek opportunities, right? Like, for example, let's talk about aspects like imposter syndrome. Like, this is something which is much more closer to women than men. So at MIQ, what we do is we coach women in a fashion that we tell them like how to deal with certain situations. Like if there's someone who's in that journey, what is it that you should be doing? Women often face challenges with networking, or I would say men probably are a little better on that front. How to coach women to network better, because as we grow up as professionals, networking is also a very, very key aspect of it. So I mean, the whole development part of it, investing in their upskilling, that plays an absolutely important part, I would say, in a journey, and just to ensure that women are retained in the workforce. Another important aspect, I would say, for a particular organization is also about talking about themselves outside, right, in the industry, or building their brand as an inclusive employer as well. The more that happens, the more it is out automatically you tend to attract women, right? The more people know that this is an organization that has gender neutral policies, has great return to work policies, talks about gender parity, pay parity, automatically women will get attracted to organizations like that. So this is something that at my organization at MIQ over the last couple of years we have built, and we have seen that in the last 4 to 5 years we are attracting a lot more women talent, and then we are also investing a lot in ensuring that these women grow within the organization and have a place in leadership positions as well. So yeah, that's something
Thank
that's
you,
from my.
Ruksha. Actually, your answer had some cues for my next question, but I'll get there later. But first, we need to hear Sashwati. Yes.
Thanks, Shweta, and hello everyone. Good afternoon. So I'll start with some data points. So as per the SR report on which was released for India in 2023, as per the report, the women girl shows equal interest as per the young boy shows in terms of selecting the STEM education. But if we check the data point about the enrollment, it shows that only 31.7% are women are selecting STEM as a career and pursue it. So, and even in terms of rural areas, it is less than that.
Yes.
So, in West Bengal, it is only 4.4%. In rural areas, the enrollment for girl student in terms of selecting the STEM. And then if we talk about the workforces, the global gap report of which says in gender, the 2023 report, it says that 29.2% women are in the workforces. And in some locations and some industries, it is even less. So I think we need to address all such things. And if we talk about some more data point, then there is like the pay parity gap, which implies that the wage average of men is taking 20% higher salaries than women. So all these needs to be addressed to align in this problem and solving the issue towards the country in a global level. And I don't think only the mentorship is a solution to address this issue. I think a policy level intervention is required for in sustainable, like to maintain the sustainability in terms of whether the businesses has been taken the gender as a good representation of men and women, or even the girls, those are pursuing or choosing the STEM education. For those institute, we can give a better, or we can measure their sustainability as a better way. And we should address this into our SDG 4, which is the quality education for sustainable development goal. So I think this needs to be measured, and if we set the key point to measure this diligently, and even we take penalties if not taking any action to complete these steps, then I think it could be a grateful to achieve this goal. Yes, and I must add that mentorship can help for those women who are in their mid career, like that is very beneficial for them to pursue into the like much higher level or C-suite level or board level achievement.
Rani, you had a question?
I'll stop with that. Thank you.
Sorry. Okay, yes. Please go ahead. You're on mute, Indrani.
Sorry, I just had to jump in because I was getting very excited. I think there's something that I wanted to bring in today for which I don't think we have any data. And I don't know, I might get into trouble with you all by saying this, but like Damayanti, I'm also very, I don't know, extrovert, talkative, stubborn, I don't know, you can call it whatever. The other thing for which we don't have any data, and that's a serious problem with retention of women, is social conditioning and our families.
Yes.
It is
We
a
don't
big
need
problem
any
in
data for
India.
that,
It is
actually.
a huge issue in India. Young women are so qualified, so intelligent, but this weird social conditioning that we have in our country, where suddenly at some point, regardless of how amazing you're doing in your career, there's this enormous pressure around you where your family just goes, get married, get married, get married. And I've been very lucky, but I think someone mentioned not everyone is an extrovert. Every girl, every woman should have a right to decide when they want to do what, just like men do. It's ridiculous how much that deters women, or how much that deters women from being retained in the workplace. This is a particular problem in India, I think. I don't know if the other panelists would agree with me, but I think that's a serious problem, because while everyone's doing such amazing work at your workplace, when you're able to do it, I'm unfortunately a junior person at the university level right now. But where some of you are, you're in leadership position, you can make all the changes. But if the woman is not getting the right kind of support from their families as well, no matter how much work is being done at the workplace, they will still not be able to. I think that sometimes families, and funnily enough, women hold other women back, which is a problem in our country. I think you might disagree with me.
No, no one would disagree with you on that. There's absolutely no doubt on that. I would actually completely, totally agree with you, but I want to bring the discussion back to STEM. We are talking about women in the workforce, and I think we have digressed in the direction of women in the workforce in general, because no matter STEM or non-STEM fields, this is an issue, right? Workforce participation is an issue. If any of the panelists have any insights to share about STEM fields in particular, are there any specific impediments or challenges that are present in STEM fields? Would anyone like to share that? I'm opening the floor. Anyone can contribute.
I would want to,
Yes.
STEM in the sense, one thing that I see in the IT sector is women growing as leaders, managers, people leaders. But when you see from a technical perspective, like becoming an architect, a level people, there is a gap. Doesn't mean that they are not capable. I think, as Indrani mentioned, it could be social conditioning. Okay, the thought process that only men are made for those kind of roles, or you're not getting inducted into that core technical area. There will be a lot of reasons for it, but this is something that I've seen through the process. Here, I think we can do well with role models. We can do well with mentorship. Some things that we do at Sabre is bringing in the leaders. Talking. We have a group called Women in Technology within Sabre. Thankfully, Sabre is such a. I can say that a gender neutral place. Hearing other people, I see that there are problems everywhere. Here also we do have, but thankfully, with the support of the good men leaders and strong women leaders, we are able to create a group called Women in Technology, where we do a lot of things. So one of the things that we do is bring in leaders who talk openly of the problems that they face. They are there to give solutions. They show that, okay, I have crossed these through these way. I had bad managers. I had a bad life, or whatever it is. This enables the women to know that they are not alone. Normally what we think, okay, this is my problem is unique. I have a problem, this one, nobody else can solve it. But when they see that all the people who are looking nice, smiling, leadership, all those things, they also had the problem, they have crossed it, and they are having similar problems still. It's not that they cross from one problem to another one. So when we are able to discuss openly about some problems without solution also, it gives the confidence to say that, okay, even if I'm not ready, I'll be able to try. So these are things I think it helps that. So the coming back to the point of the technology, still I see that women are not growing in a technical leadership. I mean, people leadership, board, you'll see a lot of HR leaders. You will see a lot of finance leaders. But if you see core technical leaders, CTOs or CPOs, or I mean, I am talking very specifically in IT industry as such. We have a lot of capable leaders, but there is still a gap where either you're not considered, or I mean, from the other side of the table, or you're not, I mean, from this side of the table, from the women's side, you're not brave enough to go and get the seat, right? I mean, it's not one side problem. It is a problem from multiple angles that we have to look into. But this is something that I felt that we have some work to do. There is progress. It's not like really dark. It's not dark. There's progress. People are putting intentional effort, but this is something that I have seen we can do better.
So I can just add to that, because I am from technology as well.
Yes.
And I feel like, Sunita, you're talking about stereotyping, right? Like, we do have so many roles and career pathways in technology. But for example, if you take a business analyst role, we'll see predominantly it's females. And if you take an architect, it's predominantly males. And also I think in a way, women are more perceived to be, doing well, performing well in leadership roles because of their nurturing nature. I think that's where they succeed more. So I think females genuinely tend to navigate towards the leadership roles as opposed to those, technical roles that you're calling out. But I think, each of us, have been talking about various reasons why, there's retention issues, or how women think they're not suitable for some roles, etc. But I think it really comes down to the corporate responsibility. Like every corporate, every organization has to actually sign up for the diversity and inclusion goals and the gender equality goals, and they have to track it and they have to report it. Like recently in Australia, the Workplace Gender Equality Association, they've actually now passed a law saying that every organization has to publish their numbers, the gender numbers, like how are they actually supporting. It's not just females and males, but also the transgender LGBTQI communities as well, so that they get the equal rights. So it comes down to the corporate responsibility and to actually educate those women who are progressing into leadership roles, going, it's their responsibility as well to give back and provide those opportunities for others.
I also wanted to chime in here.
Please,
Specifically with regard to the STEM aspect, right?
Yes.
I really see that there is a need for women in STEM to take credit for their ideas and claim their space. That is something that is very much needed. It's also important for them to build their brand, own their brand. And for that, in the organizations, I think we also need to make sure that there is a safe space, and it could be through peer-to-peer networks, right? Where they are able to demonstrate their capabilities and in a slow and steady way also build their brand and hone their capabilities. So one of the initiatives that is being taken in Philips is that we have communities of practice. So we have, they are called COPs. So we have that for specific areas like product management, program management, data and AI, systems and clinical science. So all of these are very much connected to STEM. So that is one intervention that we are working. And we really encourage our women employees to be part of those communities of practice. We also have a very important initiative called GROW. So this is something where it's born out of a combination of an initiative led by the Philips Women Lead, which is called PWL, as well as our strategic dimensions at the Innovation Campus in Bangalore. So as part of that, we have this initiative called GROW, which is Get Ready for Your Opportunities at Work. And this program is specifically designed to address the need for increased representation of women in senior technical roles in our organization, something that Sunita was also talking about. Now, considering the current trend of women moving towards managerial positions during their mid-careers, we really think that this is something that is important to propel them to take senior technical roles. And as part of that, we have regular cadence of technical leadership sessions, as well as a lot of case-based, case study-based learning. So that's something that I also wanted to bring to the table in terms of investing in peer-to-peer networks.
So I would like to go
Yes.
next, Shweta. So it's a very famous quote, right? Before you are a leader, success is all about growing yourself. And once you are a leader, success is all about growing others, right? So I would want to say that the initial question which you had raised, like why there's a dropout, right? What's preventing them to pursue their careers? I would actually add another thing what we have discussed so far. See, all the IT sector, I am talking on behalf of IT sector. So all the IT sector is typically based out of tier 1 cities. And now you look at the engineering colleges or the colleges which are into either mathematic research institutes or different engineering colleges. They're generally based out of tier 2 and tier 3 cities, right? So girls who have pursued their engineering in any of the branch, for them to pursue their careers in IT, they need to move to tier 1 cities. And there are a lot of things which come in as a parent, I think I would be very apprehensive to send my kid, especially a girl child, to a tier 1 city like Delhi, NCR, Bangalore, Pune, Hyderabad, maybe now upcoming Hyderabad, Chennai, right? There are a lot of financial issues, security, safety, your friend circle, right? There are a lot of things which matter. So I proposed very recently, I am in discussion with one of my, HR person. Why don't we start a co-working space in a tier 2 city? Because we have a certain revenue and a certain number of employees. We go back to tier 2 city, hire interns, rather than calling them to Bangalore, which is our base location. Let them do an internship from a tier 2 city, say Bhopal, Indore, or Mangalore. That way we would see that actually women are pursuing their careers, and they understand, and also they will be connected with the industry experts. Right now Zoom is Zoom, Teams, we have gone through pandemic, so we are very well connected, right? So network is not a problem. Network in terms of IT network is not a problem, right? So I really propose this, that we go back to their cities rather than calling them to our cities to pursue their training or internship. We go back, we train them there, get them up, get them skilled, and then get them to Bangalore or to Hyderabad or to Gurgaon, right? So that is my
That's
point
a
there.
wonderful. I mean, I actually so deeply resonate with some of the points made here. Of course, what you said, Kanika, about, I mean, this applies even to men, I feel, that if you're moving from a tier 2 or tier 3 city to a tier 1 city, there's always an apprehension. That's very natural. And if you can remove that barrier, I think we can have a lot of the people joining the workforce and staying in the workforce. The other thing what Sunita said, I'd just like to repeat that. She was talking about just discussing the problems, because not every problem may have a solution, right? See, as women, especially women who are having, excuse me, who are in the childbearing age, who have very young babies, that's very obvious that their work is going to probably take a backseat in the short run. That's unavoidable. But if there are people, like-minded people or people going through the same thing in the workplace, and if they can discuss those problems, I think that itself can play a big role in keeping those women motivated during those years of their break and all. So they shouldn't feel isolated. Also, what Anisuya ma'am said about taking credit, that's something where women really fall behind. And that's something we should take note of. Sashwati, you had a question. Sorry, you're raising a hand.
Oh, no, I have not a question. I actually wanted to add some points of mine.
Please.
Actually, I agreed with Kanika in this matter, because I also grew up in our rural areas, and I have completed my education there. So the challenges that I had faced is like in my school, there was no science stream. So I had to travel to nearby villages to pursue in my secondary education even. So I think that is also a problem, like for some students to pursue even in higher education, they have to travel far. And even in my engineering, I had to travel to a peer city that Kanika has already been mentioned. So I think in terms of, like, there are government initiative, of course, but as addressing the CSR role in the corporate companies, they could have also been addressing these things and include the SDG 5 in their um, pathways, so that in such schools and they can implement some like tinker coding lab and such, and then they can promote the pay parity gap through the placement and such, and that way it could be helpful for women to pursue in a better position and get to a higher level. That's all from my end. Thank you.
Yes. Sorry.
Can I go next? One quick point.
Yes, Damayanti, please.
Sure. So, I recently see this trend, a lot of people talking about the gig economy, right? That, you don't have to go to a proper workplace, you could work out of your home. And while it's a very good sign that it gives a lot of women the flexibility with their time to do what they want, my worry is that this is another way of pushing women into the informal sector in a different context, right? Because if you look at the working women in India, the, IT and that apart, the fact is that the largest percentage of women already exist in the working women already exist in the informal sector, right? In poorly paid jobs, in poor working conditions, and that is the largest percentage, right? And then even amongst the capable women, right, who because of mid-career choices or whatever had to drop out of their jobs, right? Now there is this trend that we are again pushing them into a more informal sector role, where they find the jobs or the work that suits them according to their own family requirements, as if there is no responsibility. The fact of the matter is that, between your 30s and 40s, right, when you have aging parents, you have young kids, why is it expected that it is the women in the family who will take care of these issues? We get ourselves pushed back, right? We take that role upon ourselves, right? That this is my, I will either be a superwoman and I will do both, right? Or I will drop out. The reason why men rise faster and do better at promotions is because there is a woman in the background who is taking care of the stuff, right, at the family front, and it is her career that suffers. And then when that responsibility is over, right, you go work in the gig economy, right? That is also an emerging new context, very new problem that is emerging, that also pushes women into informal roles.
That's a very different and valid point, actually. Nobody would have seen it like that. Indrani, please go ahead.
Sorry, just quickly, just seconding what you just said, Damayanti. I was going through some articles to prepare for this panel, and I came across this, which validates what you've just said, regarding women doing the work at home. And it's so normalized that when the controller of examination for the CBSE, Sanyan Bharadwaj, was asked why girls do better than boys, his reasoning was because girls have limited time and more responsibilities at home, so they're more focused. It's that normalized that we're now using that as a reason to validate how great our girls are doing at school, because it's so normalized. I got so angry when I read this, but then I thought, he's actually not lying. It is a fact. Girls are doing a lot more at home, and yes, unfortunately, well, fortunately, in our case, it's helping them to excel in their exams. But I'm just saying that's how normalized it is, that this assumption, or this, they take us for granted, that the work at home is a woman's job, when it's not. It's both whoever's living in the house is their job, really.
Ruksha, you haven't. I would like you to add.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think to that very point, it also becomes an organization's responsibility to, talk a bit more about it. We have been traditionally speaking about maternity leaves. I don't think it's about maternity leaves anymore. It should be about parental leaves, and something that we follow a lot. Like there's a 6-month parental leave, which is irrespective of your gender. So the male employees, they get to spend time with their newborn. They get to support their partner, and also ensure that their partner can go back to work sooner. So I think this is a very, very important thing, and something that organizations should start doing a lot more, just to spread that piece itself, in the industry, that just a tiny bit that we all do, just to ensure that some of these gender stereotypes, that this being a woman's job and this being a man's job, just trying to breaking barriers on that front. And yeah, I could probably go on this topic itself, but yeah, it's very important to normalize something like this.
Yes, I mean, a huge part of it is basically cultural. I think we need a cultural shift more than we need a corporate shift. But we are discussing about corporates and workforce. I would like to pose a slightly different question. Since you all are either from the industry or totally connected with the industry, I want to know, what is the general perception of businesses? I mean, is hiring women and retaining women just a DEI initiative for them, or are there people who actually understand the value of having women in their team, on their boards? What's the general perception, and what are their challenges? I mean, as a business, my motive is to make profit, right? So how can I be convinced, if I'm a business, to go the extra mile and hire women employees, retain them, take those extra efforts? Why would I do that? So what's in there for me? Besides, of course, the government has imposed it, so I have to do it. But from a perspective of a business, I hope I'm making myself clear. Anyone can go first on this. Who would like to go?
I can jump in, and
Yes,
then
Nilima,
others
please.
can contribute.
Thank you.
I think every organization values women genuinely, because I think they see value in the perspectives that women bring to the table. Whether it could be the way we perceive things, whether how data driven we could be, or how differently we approach an issue, and our problem solving skills, and etc. So it's just a matter of mindset around what we would bring to the table, and how it justifies the business to actually go the extra mile, and then therefore see the benefits of it. Like, for example, there was a freeway that was built, and there were no women involved in the design of the freeway. And what I have noticed is that the way that the freeway is built, and there was a bike, lane that was built separately. Because it was a closed freeway, women didn't feel comfortable in using that freeway. So basically, a lot of women, retaliated later, going, "We're not going to use that freeway because it's not safe for us." So there is a lot of these sort of examples that, come to surface, where people actually go, there is a real benefit in having diverse views. Whether you want to sell a product, and if you're going to miss out on the customer base because you just didn't include women in your review panels or your product designs, then that's a huge loss for the business. That's just, one example. And there's a lot of examples, I'm pretty sure, like that. But you also touched on the point about the governments imposing this. I think the governments have got to that point of imposing these as laws because they just didn't see the cultural shift. They just didn't see the organizations pragmatically applying this. So everybody knows that women bear more family responsibilities than men. So why on earth wouldn't you allow flexible working arrangements? And why is there a perception that you have to do more than 8 hours a day to get your promotion? Why is that 8 hours productivity not enough for females to get the promotion? So these are the shifts that need to come. And for that, there needs to be role models. There need to be women who need to be confident enough to stand up and use their voices and make their point and ask justification as to why they didn't secure that role or that promotion based on, how they've delivered and the value that they've delivered. So it goes both ways.
I just
So
wanted
going
to
back to
chime in
your-
here. Yeah,
Yes.
Kanika, go ahead.
So going back to your question, Shweta, on what's in it for me, I'll tell you, there was a study which was conducted in London. It was conducted for 7,600 or something, that number sort of London-based firms. And it was proved from the analysis, it was, proved that heterogeneous teams, that means diverse teams, are more prone to introduce new product innovations to the market than the homogeneous teams. Right? So yeah, Anusuya, please go ahead.
Thank you, Kanika. I just wanted to reflect on the question in a different way with regard to how AI is revolutionizing healthcare. Okay, and we do see that this is a huge business need, it's a huge customer need, and what is the role that women can play, right? So it is pretty well known that AI and related technology fields have immense power to drive change and revolutionize industries, including healthcare. And women have played a pivotal role in AI and technology fields. So in order to make artificial intelligence solutions, offerings, in order to make them bias-free and impactful, it is very essential that the engineers and technologists who are involved in AI are a true reflection of the diversity of the environment that we are part of.
Okay.
So this in turn brings in the need to foster a more inclusive culture. So having more women in the vibrant space of AI improves the design as well as the functionality of AI systems and solutions. And this is something that is, there is a growing need. There is a growing realization of this, that we need to bring more and more diverse influence while we work towards these AI-enabled solutions. So I just wanted to bring in that perspective as well.
That was so eye-opening. I mean, I'm totally amazed. And it's so obvious also, but we don't think about it that way. Sunita, please, you have your hand raised.
Yeah. So I think none of these panelists disagree that, okay, women bring a lot of things into it and it is important for women to be there. I mean, all of us agree on it. But going back to the question of the perception of how do we bring that percentage or so the thought is, I think it has to have a check and balance. I mean, do we need a policy? Yes, we need a policy till the time the women are in leadership and are able to take it. Till that time, irrespective of we are doing good or we are doing bad, doesn't matter. We should have the policy to ensure we have this percentage of people, either as interns or leaders. Policy check should be there. And from the perception of the leaders, I mean, if you see, it actually depends. I mean, in Sabre, I have seen that we have very neutral leaders who are supportive of D&I efforts. I mean, I've been lucky with it. I've been working here for 14 years and I've seen leaders come and go, but that culture of gender neutrality and thinking about it. So basically the point is here is who is in the top? Is the leader having that thought process? I mean, we have heard from the few leaders saying that I have two daughters, so I know what are the problems that they are facing. I have a wife who is going through this problem, so I know. So when we have the right kind of leaders, even men, we will be able to. So then they will be able to bring, okay, I know that this is how my women don't talk in the board, so I ensure that I give them the time to. So it's more of in the leadership, if they have the awareness, either as a lady, if there is they are in the board, they'll be able to bring their thoughts, or a leader who is aware of the differences in gender. I mean, he need not be talk great about women. They know that, okay, people work in different way. So to coming back to that, the perception from the leadership, I would say that, am I getting the best out of any resource? I mean, end of the day, it is a resource. I have 1,000 people, you be men, women, doesn't matter. Are you, I mean, people are, particularly in corporate, we are doing business. Is it adding to my top line, bottom line? So if we can get it, so that's the reason we need the check and balance. I mean, as a society, we have the need to bring the women into that. But as a business, they would say that I am having 1,000 people, I need money out of it. But I would also ensure, create a safe space or create a neutral space where everybody get the opportunity, irrespective of you being man or woman. That is where I think the difference is, and it all depends on who's in the top. As I said, I mean, if they are aware, more better. So more the leaders are aware of it, if we have that kind of leadership, it makes a lot of difference. Or if the person is in a different thought process. So I mean, I don't think I've answered the question, but these are the various
I so
viewpoints.
agree with that, actually, because it an organization's culture totally trickles from the leader, the top leader. I mean, there's no two ways about it. We have many people raising their hands, so I'm just going to go one by one. We have our consulting editor, Medha. Medha, please go ahead. You had a question.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, so I found what Damayanti said very interesting, and it's something that I think about often as a professional and as a mother of two, that I mean, at the end of the day, it's about us, right? Like we have to be convinced that we need to be, you know, fully involved in our professional lives, irrespective of what is happening. Now, it's easier said than done, but like Damayanti said, that it has to start with us. Do you think, my question to you is that, do you think that mentoring helps sort of to convince women who are coming from similar, like Shweta also mentioned this, that people who are coming from similar experiences, how they have navigated, you know, maybe there are creative solutions like remote working is of course helped women hugely, but also the thought process in terms of shaping one's worldview, even after motherhood, as to how we should see our own careers. And then only we can seek help from outside once we are convinced.
I have to
So-
jump in.
Yes,
Can
no,
I
the question was for you, Damayanti, I think, right, Medha?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, and I mean, it's open.
Okay.
See, first of all, this is what I tell all my young, you know, employees, women. First of all, do not feel guilty, right? I think we have a huge load of guilt that we carry on our shoulders to speak up for ourselves. I mean, I see women laughing, which means that they agree, right? We take guilt on for ourselves for things that we should feel guilty about, but that's only 2%. 98% is things for which we do not need to feel guilty about, right? That's step one. Step two, I think, is yes, mentoring is a huge help, right? Speak, you know, talk to people, you know, your family members, right? Speak up, tell them about your hopes and dreams. If they know what you want, right? And if you're able to articulate, a lot of times they don't even know. That is the level of normalization that Imrani was talking about, right? We just bottle up the stuff and think this is our job, so we do it, right? Speaking about what your hopes and dreams are also helps, right? You know, my son who was like 4 years old, right? I had a really difficult situation and he was like, "Ma, you go do what you need to do, right? I'll take care of my own stuff." And he was 4, he made me cry, right? So that's the other. And yes, I agree, mentoring is a huge help. And you go seek out the mentor that you need. If you cannot find a mentor, ask other people, right? And that all starts with not feeling guilty, right? For speaking up for things that you want for yourself. It is okay to want things for yourself.
Yeah. And just to add to that, often sometimes we just know we have the fire in our belly, but we just don't know what is it we want to go chase, what is it that we want to go achieve. And that's where mentors come in. And often, and I'm pretty sure many of them will agree to this, how many of us actually wait for someone to assign a mentor or assign a coach? How many times? I mean, I think very less percentage of women actually go seek mentors, go seek an executive coach, and just to have an open, transparent conversation, to actually say it out loud that I want to be this is, takes a lot of courage. So that and mentoring actually helps with mindset. So once there's a shift in the mindset, you can go achieve whatever you want. And I think that's what we need to do for even for, from younger generations. And I know we've spoken a lot about, organizations and work and retention, but, one of the things that I was looking up as I was coming to this panel is the initiatives that the government run. And one such initiative is the Vignan Jyoti. And I was reading about it, and it was so good to know that in India, there's initiatives like this. But where my heart fell apart was one of the criteria in there is that they have to be, I think the word they used is merit students or something like that. I'm like,
Meritorious.
Meritorious, yes. Why would you discriminate? Like, why would you not tap into every girl who is interested? And that's where we are crushing hopes. We've got so much gap. Why would we narrow down providing those opportunities to only those meritorious students? And I was just at my son's school the other day, and you know what the headmaster said? It's not those kids who've achieved the top ranking. It's those kids who have moved from below average to average is the story we need to separate.
Yeah.
So why are we not tapping into the potential of those girls who don't even know? So if they don't know, what do they? So my plea to the government is please leave that out of your website and please open up to every girl who shows interest in STEM. That's when we can actually bridge this gap. You narrow down just those who are at the merit level.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes.
Yes. We have other people who want to ask questions. Rabi, would you please share your question? Rabi is our team member.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Back to science STEM, how they can spark that knowledge inside them. So my question is like how a media organization can collaborate with educational institutions or corporates or non-profits so that we can raise awareness. We can not only awareness campaign, but how we can take collaborate in a sense that we can make a positive impact to bring one more Marie Curie from India kind of thing.
So can I go first?
Yeah, sure.
Please.
Sure, yeah. Thank you for the department, right? Now let's come to India. Last August, we got an approval from Parliament for one of our research funding agency, which is called Anusandhan, National Research Foundation. So we are expecting somewhere around $6 billion to be invested for the next 5 years. Now we know that the elections are upcoming. I know that this is going to be probably history in making. This has never been done in India. That's a huge amount, but let's just see. We'll have to wait and watch that how it actually turns out to be, right? Now, I know some firms, I know some institutes here in India, which are, they are of a bigger, large private institutes. So what they do is they have their R&D department and they have some money just kept for R&D department, right? So if I have a project, as a student, if I have a project, and if the college finds the potential in it, they fund it, right? Now, my ask to the industry would be that if we can collaborate in an IT industry to this sector, to this department of a college, and directly a firm is going to sponsor this program, I think it is going to bridge a lot of gap. And we can see a lot of kids and especially girls coming out and understanding how an actual industry or a business use case works and what sort of algorithm goes behind in resolving that problem statement. Right. So I would say that collaboration from from an organization with an institution would be beneficial for the kids to, actually be able to see what endless opportunity an IT industry has got for them.
Yeah, can I
So that
add
would be my
something?
answer to that.
On how we could, if you have to say, marry corporate with the grassroots level. One of the things that in Sabre that we are doing is we are connected with a non-profit organization called United Way, where we are reaching out to schools around 6 of them around Bangalore, government girls school, and we have set up the STEM lab, which means that we are reaching out. One is providing the infrastructure. I mean, that is something that we are doing. Another thing that I see is there, if we are going and interacting, they see there are role models already doing it. It's not just some system is, I mean, they could be able to see that, okay, there are people like them actually in blood and flesh who has gone and done these things, so they're able to emulate them. So that is one way of doing. And coming to how media can help is, we were talking about students from tier 2 moving to tier 1, struggling, being successful. I mean, struggling is one thing. So if as a partner, partnering with the industry, if they can talk stories about these success stories, I mean, it's not, I mean, when people see that, okay, from my city or from my village, I have seen people growing to this level, which means that I can also do. I mean, it is all comes back to role model, no? I mean, you can see somebody, for example, Sunita Williams has flown to space, means then it gives a confidence that, okay, I can also do. Similarly, if we can talk about people who are from their cities or from their villages, doing great in whatever they are doing, this is where the media can help. Bringing, I mean, media is like social media, right? I mean, people have now access, thanks to COVID. All the kids have phone or whatever it is. They would be able to know more about it. So these are small tidbits which can build a gap on women leaders in STEM or anything for that matter. That's my thought.
Right. Thank you, Sunita. Kuhu wanted to say something. Kuhu, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I just had a question.
Yes,
To
please.
everybody here. So I think somebody here mentioned about the imposter syndrome. So I had a couple of questions. Have you felt the imposter syndrome, and how do you see this as an issue within the women in STEM? And also, I mean, how did you overcome this?
Does anyone have an experience to share? Or
I can definitely share here.
Please.
Yeah. So the imposter syndrome, in my view, is a very internal experience where we tend to diminish the value that we could potentially bring to a role, right? We double guess ourselves. We really wonder if we could, if we are fit for the role, and if we could really meet or surpass, the challenges, that we could face as part of a role. So this is something that I truly felt in the early stages of my career. And one of the most important things that really helped me was one of my mentors. She's in my earlier company, she's a global leader. And one of the most important things that she really brought to my notice was that the first step is to boost one's confidence and really go through the role. Yeah, and it is only through that affirmation to myself, as well as through small wins through the role, was I able to overcome that. Having said that, right, now that I feel comfortable in making career switches, challenging the status quo, my own status quo, I think it's also important for us who have gone through the cycle and who have been able to overcome that to some extent, I think it's also important for us to help other women who might potentially be going through that, be it through mentoring programs, or I was also referring to the peer-to-peer networks. It's also important for us to, pay it forward in that view. So that way, it also becomes more of an accumulative experience where we are also overcoming it and we are also helping others to go through that journey. So that is my personal experience. Definitely mentoring for me helped me in that space. And in fact, I'm also humbled to share that while I was navigating through an important career transition, for me, I was typically known as a person who focuses on systems and clinical areas of work. And there was a bit of a stereotyping where I was thought to be, more focused on those areas. But what really helped me was to challenge the status quo and move to a completely different area in the world of hardware and platform development in hardware. And how did I do that? I actually tapped into my experience, my early experience with regard to how I was able to overcome the imposter syndrome. So this was one example that I wanted to share.
Thank you. Thank you, Anusuya. I actually wanted to now move towards the, in fact, this could be the last question because we have 10 to 15 minutes left. So, okay, sorry, Medha, you had something to say?
No, I just felt like adding something to what she said very rightfully. Just I think knowing that other people are going through the similar experience of this imposter syndrome helps a lot. Because it's, when you confide in someone, and especially women we are talking about, the minute you talk to someone, you realize so many people go through it. So just the exchange of, just sharing it is like half the problem. You realize that it's not something that is wrong with you, but it's like something that many women go through. And I think also because we are just designed to question ourselves, we are very self-critical. I mean,
Yes.
the amount of feedback that we give ourselves on any given day will always outweigh anything that men experience. That's what I personally feel. I mean, I could be wrong, but I do feel that it has to do with the fact that we are very self-critical.
Medha, I resonate with you. We are very self-critical. Whether I have done it right, I've not done it right. I need those validation check, whether my husband is okay with it. And it's not that he's asking me for those validations. I have designed myself in a way that I go to him and ask all this,
Yeah, totally agree. I think we are always seeking external validation, which is not right, and which is where, sharing experiences, learning from others who have gone through a similar journey, how they have dealt with it, that becomes absolutely important. And which is why, again, the whole point on mentoring people, sharing your experiences, talking more about it is so, so important, and especially in situations like this. Though men also go through it, it is not something which is restricted only to women. I think it's very important to call that out as well. But if we go by the stats, of course, it's women. Because of the way we are conditioned, we tend to lean a bit more on that side, which is where talking more about it becomes so, so important.
Right.
One, just to chime into a previous question asked, I have a actual live suggestion for CSR leaders because there's a large team here. When we talk about role models, right, we often pick people, Sunita Narayan, industry leaders, but for the average woman, that's like the Himalayas, right? Those role models are not accessible, right? You look at them and think that I could never be her, right? Start a series called Everyday Role Model, right? Sunita talked about women in core technology, right? She is a great example, right? And she's an everyday woman. Like, you know, if you put her up as a role model, right? Hundreds of women would say, oh, maybe I can't be like, you know, Sunita Williams, but I could be Sunita, this Sunita, right? So having everyday role models, running a regular column, having a short videos with women who are from the regular walk of life and making them as role models, you know, having young engineers or, you know, kids who are doing really different things in college, right? Putting them up as role models for kids in schools, right? Or in other smaller colleges would actually make the whole role model story far more accessible. We actually, the problem is sometimes we make role models as, you know, you have to reach Mount Everest or nothing.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm just agreeing to everything that every panelist has said. I mean, I couldn't help, but I mean, I'm every 2 minutes I'm having an aha moment that's so relevant. Anyway, we have Govind who wants to say something, I think, add something or ask something. Govind, please go ahead.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. And it's a really insightful session that I have gone through. And I'm from the CSR Research Department, and we are working on developing a committee, a STEM committee, the CSR Universal STEM Committee, in which we will bring governance to beneficiaries at one place. Every milestone and every ways that holds this pathway, the STEM. We will having beneficiaries there, we have a governance there, we have policies there, we have industry there, we have experts. So we'd like to have you as the experts on that panel, because you are the industry leader and you can contribute much better way. So we will sending you the proposal soon on this, see how we are carrying out the entire journey. And the best example is to begin with you people, because you have been through that. You have seen that and you have solved that, and you are working for that. And it's the best thing that you can have a panel from your side. So we are working on this project and we'll share this soon, no more detail.
Thanks, Govind. Thank you. Yes, so I was coming to my next question. Actually, I said that this would be the last question, but it's very important, so I have to ask it. We were talking about, someone mentioned government programs. I think Nilima, it was you. So the government has been taking a lot of initiatives, and I mean, I don't need to go through them, but what, in your opinion, can be done at a policy level to solve the issue of representation of women, particularly women in the workforce? Have they already done it? Can something more be done by the policymakers, or can implementation be better? What are your suggestions on that? What can policymakers? We have talked a lot about what businesses can do. We need a cultural shift. What more can policymakers do, or how can they do it better? That's my question. So, am I audible? My screen just froze.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
So
God.
I think we won't ever get to a stage where we go, oh, you know, the policies are enough. You know, they've done enough. I don't think we will ever get to that stage. I think it's an evolution. And as part of that, you know, like Govind was saying, you know, we need someone day to day, we're going through these issues on the panels to actually provide the insights and make sure that whatever policy changes that we are proposing actually are impactful. So I think that's what the government should do. And India is a huge demographic, right? And if something needs to move at a national level, it needs to come from the state level. So I think different initiatives need to be experimented at different, you know, in different states. And then together, you know, then you bring that together and go, okay, which was more impactful, which actually got more momentum, where can we make a quick difference? We have to go with those first, so that we can keep taking steps as we go. And then, you know, I already you know, mentioned my view about, you know, don't narrow down to just, you know, kids with merits. Open it to everybody. You don't know what you're going to spark in who.
Yes.
Right.
I think that's
and
something
then the
about
other thing
India.
is also our teachers. Yeah, our teachers. And that's where all the normalization comes in. You know where the imposter syndrome actually comes in? From schooling. Because I was just an average student. I felt I wasn't enough. Not until, as I started growing in my own skin and getting comfortable, I didn't feel I was enough. So, that needs to change as well. So I think there's a lot of stuff that we need to do to empower our teachers and enable them to get more exposure, bring innovative ways of teaching, so all of those makes a difference. And from a government perspective, right, it's about bringing that transparency in, okay, you've made a policy, right? Then report on what that policy, how impactful was that policy on. And if it doesn't work, stop, do something else. It's okay to fail, but if they don't lead by example, then how are we going to make this change?
Right. Shashwati,
Yeah.
You had your hand raised. Please go ahead.
So, like, the government has taken some initiative, and those are, I think, a positive signs towards like promoting this topic. But I must say that for the Vigyan Jyoti program that was launched in 2019, so initially they had started with 50 districts throughout the country, and then they have raised it to 100. So I think including this, they have achieved only 12.4% throughout the district that we have in India. So I think that rate should be increased, and then they should have recognized some policy in terms of, so if, like, I can understand that they had a budget and they need to address few things over there, but also corporate have some CSR policies. So I think that thing can be implemented, and then those schools or colleges there are need more help in terms of that. So they can collaborate with those corporates and then can implement their like some metrics in terms of they're providing some capacity building sessions, or then the like after graduation collaboration with the industries, and then the placement, and then all these things they are measuring in somewhere, so that they can track that whether all this intervention that they have implemented is like what is the success rate of it. And then as Nilima has said, if they think that it is not helpful, then they can change the policy after all. But at least we need the measurement whether we are going to the right path or not. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Indrani, you also have your hand raised. Yes.
Yes, thank you. All very valid points. Just on policy making. So I am not a policy maker, but what I'd like to see is some sort of good articulation about what this is all about. Because when we're saying we want gender equality, what do we actually want? What is the end game? Is it 50-50? But why just stay at 50-50? Like Sunita mentioned earlier, sometimes she works with, 9 out of 10, they're women. But it is also quite possible that sometimes we might end up working in a team where 9 out of 10 is, 9 men and 1 woman. The problem is not achieving a 50-50 or anything. It's the fair treatment of women in the workplace, so we get the equal opportunity. It should ultimately be based on merit after all, because if we don't articulate what exactly we're after, we will also be having a faction of the society who will start resenting us, that they always want this because they're a woman. But as a woman, I don't want that. I just want to have the equal opportunity, just like a man would have in his lifetime. I just want to have that same opportunity. Now we start the race, it's a level playing field, and we start the race, together. But what's currently happening is we've literally just finished the race, and the men are just standing there ready to start the race. It's just not fair. So I think when we are making policies where there's quotas, these things need to be articulated to women, of course, that these opportunities are available, but also articulated to the rest of the society that this is there for a very good reason. So all our outreach is directed towards women, but not enough for boys. You never see International Women's Day for boys because they're like, well, that's something women do. Women get together and have a cup of tea and champagne and whatever and celebrate being a woman. That's not what it's about. There are some serious issues They want women to get together like they've done in families, just get together and discuss your, well, that's not the thing. We've got to get everyone on board. Someone mentioned about having their male involved during EDI discussions. And I think that's a really good idea. But whatever the end game is, we shouldn't specify. I don't know. I don't want to be in a thing where it's 50-50. I think it's equal opportunity based on merit. Sometimes it'll be 90% women and only 10% men, because that's how it is. And it could be vice versa as well. It's just the equal opportunity that's more important than the outcome. And
The
the
outcome.
policy should articulate that really well.
Yes. Who else had?
Kanika has.
Kanika had, yes.
Yeah, I had a lot of thoughts around it, so I ended up posting in the chat window here. So I think what Indrani said is about the cerebral opportunity, right? The cerebral equal opportunity. None of the girls wants to be 200 pounds and being able to lift some 100 kgs of dumbbell, but but I think we are here talking about more of cerebral opportunity and equality, right? So yeah, I think we are over time, but I had something which I have already posted in the chat here, that I think we can have some surveys from the government. We already have these surveys about great place to work with, and we have now ESGs coming into play. Why don't we propose this, that these surveys, if they're not already having the governance factor about how many girls are we recruiting, how many girls are we able to retain, and because these surveys are very directly gone to an employee. So right, as an employee, I can choose to write what I want, what I feel, without being influenced by anyone, right? So I think if we have this governance through these surveys, they are very reputed surveys. I think that would probably help us to measure the success of what we have been talking about, and probably it will also make firms to organizations to actually think about, yes, D&I is not just for the sake of D&I, but we need to really, uplift a certain a certain part of the society which probably does not have as equal opportunity as men.
Great.
I want the others to also give their opinion on this. Anusuya ma'am, Sunita, Damayanti, on the government part. As Nilima said, the government can never do enough. That's very true. They have to keep on working on themselves, evolving the policies. That's very important. But as of now, what do you think that can be done? What more can be done from the policy perspective?
One thought, as I totally don't know anything about policy, but only one thing. When we are writing a policy, is that set of people who are writing it, do we have enough representation of women? Because without knowing the problem, what will you go and write? The men sit and say, okay, this is how a women's policy has to be set. So is the set of people who are writing it, are they diverse enough to think and see what is the outcome, or what is it that we are trying to achieve? That is something that if we can make a difference, or if that's something that can be done, that would make a lot of a difference, is my thought. Other than that, I don't have any.
No, that's fine. Anusuya,
One thought from my side. Yeah, one thought from my side, and I was just reflecting on what Nilima shared about teachers. I really believe that we need to have capable teachers coming into our schools, whether it is providing the right level of motivation or the pay for them, also the exposure, and also upskilling them. We really need to have capable teachers who are able to foster the whatever we were talking about, culture and encouraging girls. I think teachers have a huge role to play. So if there is something in the policy, I'm not adept at it, I'm not an expert, but if there is something that can be done at a policy level to increase the capability of teachers and bring in more teachers into our schools, I think that would really make a big difference in my view.
I think
That's my thought.
that's very relevant once again. I think the teachers should also be, they are trained, but I think that training is not enough to probably actually take care of the psychological development of the children as well, of the girls per se. I don't want to eat up much time, but I'd just like to share an anecdote. I was doing field work for my doctorate. This is a few years back, quite a few years, long time back. And I was in a rural school somewhere near, there's a small district in UP called Basti. And I was in a rural school and I was talking to the children there. And we were talking about this very issue. How can the difference between boys and girls be, evened out? And okay, the children were giving their own views. And I said, education came up as a very natural point that the girls need to be educated. And I sort of summed up the class discussion and I said, yes, education is very important. And the class teacher was with me at that point of time. And in front of the whole class, she said to me that she told it, she said this in Hindi, but she told me that, ma'am, what are you talking about? I mean, how can we educate the girls so much? Then it will be such a big problem to marry them off. She's the class teacher. And she said that in front of the whole class. And she said, ma'am, education is okay, fine, but education is not a solution. So I just asked her to not probably chime into the discussion, but although this is almost a decade back, but I don't think the situation has changed much. So we need better teachers, yes. And teachers who are really in tune with the children's needs. That's more important. So sorry for eating up the time, but yes, I now want, I think Rupsha and Damayanti have to add to this point, the government part.
Yeah, and I totally resonate with the point on teachers itself. And even if we look at the curriculum as well, right, there's a very less representation of women in that itself. Like if you have to look at something very, very basic about a picture of an engineer, if you say ask maybe like girls or boys to draw it, most likelihood they would be drawing male engineers, right, or male scientists. I think that itself is wrong. So I think maybe in our books, in the curriculum that's created, talking a bit more about women, bringing in a lot more representation, right, in the way the stories are being told, in the way basic images are created. I think that itself can also add to this to the whole conversation on this. So yeah, that would be my additional thought on this point.
Yes.
I'm going to end this in a very incendiary note. I think our policymakers need gender sensitization the most.
Yeah.
That's the elephant in the room, right? So I don't know how to solve that problem, right? But having more inclusive policy-making committees would make a huge difference. I don't think that is how it is done these days, right? Which is also why we see fairly regressive policies coming out, right? The other thing is that when we do sensitization kind of material, they're very out of tune with the times, right? And very boring. Young people today's day and age, if you want to capture their imagination, they need to really raise up the bar as to what is going out in terms of the script of these sensitization text and whatever. Teacher training is important. Having in colleges, right, in tier 2, tier 3 colleges, right, having sensitization, initiating sensitization, I think Indian corporates, all said and done, are doing a lot more in terms of sensitization in the workplace, but it is not commensurate with what is happening in the educational institutions themselves, right? In terms of sensitizing male colleagues, in terms of having free and open discussions, right? The idea is to have a gender cell in every college, and that takes care of everything. So there needs to be more done than just that, paying lip service, right? You send a message that, as I said in my initial BA, you send a message to the entire country when you choose a woman as the head of a large R&D effort of the government. You send a message when you choose a director of an IIT to be a woman, right? We are 60 years plus. We are not there yet. And we are not the decision makers there, right?
Right. Thank you. I think Medha had a point to say, but she has logged out. Yes, Nilima, you had to say something?
I'm just coming back to, the point that was made around, we always make our role model sound is very far-fetched. And, they're actually more like supermodels than role models. So I think if you actually bring it down to, Damayanti's point, to actually go, make it a common voice. And every story has something to learn, right? That's why we love reading books and reading about others and, finding encouragement and hope in those things. So just as a plug-in, if, for Indian government to, do an initiative like in Australia, and Indrani and I are part of it, the Australian government actually runs something called as a Superstars of STEM program. And this is where they actually select 60 women across Australia every 2 years. And they call them the role models. We are commoners. I am not a CEO. I'm not even in an executive leadership role. I'm in my middle management, if I may say so. Ready to grow. Equally, an opportunity for us to give back to community. So Indrani and I go to schools. Indrani talks about geology. I talk about technology. We break myths. We just talk in a common language with high school students. So, and that's an initiative where the media can help, the government can help. So, and if you actually Google it, Superstars of STEM Australia, you see the impact that program is making. And that gives an opportunity for other women as well to bring their voices to the table.
Right. Thank you. My screen froze again. I hope I'm audible.
You are.
Yes.
Thank you. That's a relief. Okay. We are, although we're past the time limit, but I think this was a wonderful, wonderful discussion. And as I said, after every speaker had made at least 2 or 3 points at which we all had aha moments that, yes, that is so true. And we totally resonated. And those are very obvious points, but it's lovely to hear it from someone else. So thank you, everyone, for joining, giving your time and participating so actively. So thanks a lot. And you would be hearing from us further as well. I know this 1.5 hours doesn't justify this topic, and we need to talk a lot more about it. But at least this is a beginning. And Damayanti will keep this in mind, the idols of, the everyday idols, you said, right? So we'll definitely think on that, on those lines, and we'll get in touch with you if that section comes through. So thank you, everyone. I'd now end the meeting. Thanks. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. It was such a pleasure to talk to all of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thanks,
for calling
everyone.
us and hosting us. Thank you, the CSR Universe. Thank you, Shweta.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It was completely our pleasure. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.